So guys, Insurgency Sandstorm Update 1.7 Nightfall is finally here with a new map, new gear, and of course the new night maps. Which obviously means we've got a lot to talk about in this video, but the big question is it actually any good? Well guys, this is BillyEatWorld again, and let's find out. Alright guys, how you going? Welcome to the video, and to kick off, just before we get into this update, I want to go back and talk a bit about Gamescom 2018, where I can remember playing a pretty broken and unoptimized beta version of Sandstorm, which honestly struggled to hit even 60 frames per second, even on the dev's own PCs. And I can remember thinking then, you know, this is why indie dev studios find it so hard to take on AAA shooter franchises like COD or Battlefield. And I thought to myself at the time, well, this is a great game, but it's just not going to ever have that same level of polish. It might be on par in terms of gameplay, but it's never going to look as good. So fast forward almost 2 years, and I can honestly say that the new Nightfall update is starting to convince me this might not be the case, if not in this game, but definitely in the future of the franchise. Because my honest first impression of this new content is that it's a cut above everything else we've seen in the game so far, and the devs aren't kidding when they say this is their biggest update that they've ever released. Most importantly though, apart from all the new content, the game is looking and feeling better than it ever really has before, at least on the regular Versus servers. And not just that, but the devs have also tweaked things from the UI to the tutorial. Even the game artwork has been updated, and all of this combined is starting to make Sandstorm feel a lot less like an indie game. Now, with that being said, let's get on to the details of Nightfall itself. And well, obviously the focus on this one is on the night maps. But believe it or not, they're probably not actually the most important new addition in 1.7 for most players. The main thing that you guys are going to want to know about is the new map called Tideway. And that's because, well, the night maps firstly are just the existing maps reworked with a night preset. And not just that, but they've also been designed primarily for co-op, which is bad news if you're someone like me who likes PvP. And look, technically you can play the night maps on Versus in community servers, but depending on where you are in the world, that may not actually be possible. So basically what that means is that unless you're a huge fan of co-op, well, you're probably going to be spending a lot more time on Tideway than you will on the night maps, which, don't get me wrong, isn't a bad thing, because this one is actually a remake of the classic map Booriz from Insurgency 2014, and I'm completely aware that I'm probably pronouncing that horribly wrong. Now, if you're not familiar with that game, well, in a nutshell, Tideway is a fairly long and skinny urban map with 3 main lanes, and it's diverse enough to allow for everything from long-range sniping to CQB. And not just that, but there's a ton of flanking options as well, especially on that riverside, which is why it's such a classic map. It's a map that's got a bit of something for everyone. Now, so far that's at least one big tick for this update, but getting back to the night maps, well, I don't want you to get the idea that they aren't good as well. In fact, they're actually probably a lot better than they thought they'd be. But like I said, the main problem is the devs have designed these for co-op and not for PvP, which means fighting against bots, which in this game just aren't that smart. One thing you might not realize is the devs actually also reworked the AI specifically for this update, apparently by cutting their visibility in the dark. But even though you'd think this should make the experience better, well, it turns out the bots are probably actually dumber now. They'll run right past you, which I guess is realistic in the dark, but at the end of the day, it's just not very fun. Now, once again, I don't want you to get the idea that this is a deal breaker. The main draw card of the night maps is all the new night gear the devs have added in to support them. For example, they've added in a range of different types of night vision goggles, night vision scopes, as well as thermal laser sights and flashlights. As you can see in this video, these all interact with the player in different ways. For example, NVGs will slow down your scope in speed, and flashlights can be used to blind enemies. And not just that, but you'll also realize that regular attachments might not work as well in the dark as they do in the day. So honestly, a lot of the fun to be had in this mode is coming up with different loadouts and different strategies to use them. Now, speaking of loadouts, well, like I said, the other big ticket item in this update are the 5 new weapons, which, by the way, are mostly for the Breacher class. Basically, what we've got is 2 new assault rifles, the Honey Badger and the ASVAL, as well as 2 SMGs, the Grease Gun and the Sterling, and also the kind of ridiculous Well-Rod suppressed pistol. What's really interesting about these new weapons, though, is that they're all kind of different, in particular the Grease Gun and the ASVAL. Because where the ASVAL has got a ridiculously fast rate of fire, the Grease Gun is probably the opposite. It's got a ridiculously slow rate of fire, both of which makes these guns very, very challenging to use. Now, like I said before, the devs added in a bunch of new night attachments for weapons in this update, but what I didn't mention is the other thing they've focused on with these weapons in particular are suppressors. For example, the Grease Gun has actually got 2 different types of suppressor, which kind of reminds me a bit of Battlefield 4, except that the different types aren't just cosmetic like they were in that game. Also, the other thing I want to specifically mention is the new night vision point shooting attachment, which I didn't realize at first is actually designed to be used with the laser sights. And as you can see, it allows you to aim down sights with the laser sight, which is honestly super good for these maps. So definitely, if you get a chance, take a moment to check out that particular combo. But anyway, moving on, that's really about it for the new content. But like all Sandstorm updates, there's obviously been a lot of other smaller tweaks and improvements in this one as well. Like, for example, the devs are really trying to help out new players in this update. And so what they've done firstly is updated the tutorial, which you can see on screen now. Not just that, but they've added in a new class unlock system. And so from now on, between level 1 and 20, you'll actually have to unlock classes before you can use them. And I've talked about this in videos before, but basically what it's designed to do is ease in new players to the easier classes first. And if I remember rightly, it should take about 10 hours to unlock all the classes. Also, finally, and this might be important for you or it might not, but the devs have also added in a bunch of new cosmetic items in this update, some of which are free and some of which aren't. Controversially, this is the first update that devs have added in paid cosmetic items, which come in the form of weapon skin and outfit sets that are worth about $4.50 Australian each. Now, once again, I've talked about this topic before, but just to reiterate, the devs have explicitly said that any paid DLC content will purely be cosmetic and won't affect gameplay. Which is a really interesting point to wrap up on, because this video is basically about the evolution of Sandstorm and what could be more like a AAA shooter than paid cosmetic items. The problem is that actually a good thing or is it not? Let me know what you think down below. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps it up for this quick video. So make sure you let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And just remember that I can't possibly cover every single detail of these updates in just one video. So if you want the more finer details, I'll leave all the links to the dev posts in the description down below. As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later and have a good one.